Hello, Bill Carroll for Zenny 6 News Media. And we've been going through all 32 teams, and of course, teams are now in training camp. The Jets, like many teams, have hopes, high hopes for the future. They have a young team. They're led by Zach Wilson, and reports are that he's looking the best he's ever looked, and if indeed he pushes himself into the top 10 to 12 quarterbacks in the league, and if their young defense continues to improve, if their young pieces on offense improve, and obviously their offensive line, which is not actually that young. It's the sort of oldest part of the team, probably. All pulled together, this could be a team that pushes its way into contention. And quick shout out to people that don't often get shouted out. David Sochi is the person who runs the CAP, the capologist, director of football administration for the Jets, and he's maneuvered them into a position where a great amount of their cap is tied up at this point in really just a few players. But all those players are players you can move on from fairly quickly. So obviously, if they were to cut C.J. Mosley now, they would owe him, or they would lose, in terms of dead cap money, $20.5 million if that's happening, and save only $3 million. But as of the end of 2023, they would then only have $3 million in dead cap, and they would save $15 million. And then a year after that, if they waited to 2024 when he's 32, which is not impossible but unlikely, they would only have $1.5 million left in prorated bonus, and it would save $17 million against the cap. So that is a truly special thing. And the other two, guys who were these three together are more than 25% of their current cap space. Carl Lawson and Corey Davis. For each of them, they could move on after 2023 and owe them, in one case, $332,000. The other one about another $1.5 million. They could free up a tremendous amount of cap very quickly. They only have a little over $2 million in dead cap now. $500,000 into Ryan Griffin. Jabari Zuniga is owed $498,684. James Morgan, $357,632. Cameron Clark, $45,496. And frankly, when you think about it, that's one of the lowest dead cap numbers in the whole NFL. Drew Sania's on the PUP list right now. On the non-football injury list, you have Gregory Sinat and Rodney Adams. But most of this team is, with the exception of some, older guys came here, created like Sheldon Rankins, obviously, is one of the older players. I just mentioned C.J. Mosley, who's not one of the older and one of the more expensive players in the team. They brought in D.J. Reed, but he's frankly a bargain to me. His guaranteed salary for D.J. Reed for this year is, the base is a little over $1,035,000. He has $3.155 million in prorated bonus. But I mean, he has a very, very respectable cap number of a little over $4.6 million. This team is mostly built on bargain contracts. And like I said, shout out to David Sochi. Now, moving on to the team itself. So when you look at this team, they've largely built this team for the draft. And they go back a few drafts and look at players who are important parts of this team. Now, obviously, if you go back to 2018, Darnold's gone. Nathan Shepard's still there. Chris Herndon, no longer there. Fatukasi, Trent Cannon, Perry Nickerson. Not a lot of that draft is still, and obviously drafts prior to that, a lot of those players are not still left. But from 2019 forward, Quinnen Williams, an important part of the team, came in there. Then look at, I was the point was not far back, but Becton, Mims, Austin Davis, Jabari Zuniga, Michael Klein, James Morgan, Cameron Clark, Bryce Hall, and Braden Mann, punter. And then obviously last year's draft, Zach Wilson, starting quarterback, Elijah Vera-Tucker, incredibly important offensive lineman. Elijah Moore might be, I think, one of the top receivers, at least in terms of targets, in the whole NFL this year. Michael Carter, a person who's in the running back rotation and might end up winning the fight there. Jamian Sherwood, defensive back. Michael Carter, the other one, the safety, not confusing at all. Jason Pinnock, corner. Hoffman Nazarodine was one of those guys that some people are very high on, but frankly, he tested poorly. And while there are some defensive backs that can overcome being below average athletes, it's very difficult to do so. Brandon Echols, a more athletic corner from Kentucky, and then Jonathan Marshall, defensive line from Arkansas. And then this most recent draft classes, Ahmad Gardner. If he turns out to be what they think he's going to be, a linchpin player. Garrett Wilson, I think he ends up being maybe the fourth best of the rookie receivers, which is not an insult. This is a really great young receiver group that came in those last draft class. And even if you're the fourth best, that's still pretty darn good. Jermaine Johnson, the second, I think ends up being one of the top three pass rushers from this most recent draft class. Breece Hall, I think he's the second best running back. Some people think he's the best running back from the draft class. But he's going to be good. Then Jeremy Ruckert, Max Mitchell, who is at very worst case probably a swing tackle, then Michael Clemens, defensive tackle, Texas A&M, who should be in that mix amongst the amongst the guys who are on that defensive line group. So just running through the depth chart very quickly. Corey Davis obviously came via free agency. Denzel Mims backs him up, and then Breece Black is behind them. I mentioned Elijah Moore, and then Jeff Smith and Keshawn Abram are sort of fighting it out behind him. And then in your Z, you've got your aforementioned Garrett Wilson already penciled as a starter with Barrios backing both Moore and he up. Then Rashard Davis and Calvin Jackson battling it out too, with the aforementioned Black and Abram to be that, those fifth, sixth, last couple of receivers in the depth chart. Left tackle is once again a guy came from the Seattle Seahawks, George Fant. Laken Tomlinson, Wyatt High-Hope score coming out of Duke at left guard, and I still think he's going to help them in the run game. Connor McGovern coming over from Denver, so a lot of free agents rolling off his line. Comes over and takes over the center spot with Dan Feeney behind him, and Derek Kelly and Nate Herbig are going to be guys sort of swing guards and could also play, center in a pinch. Also, you have Rock Purbacher and Isaiah Williams in the IOL mix. And then, obviously, they're hoping Mekhi Becton's closely has really turned it around. Barrett Tucker, like I said, clearly is probably the best offensive line right now at right guard. If Becton gets it together at right tackle, then things are looking up. And like I said, Max Mitchell is going to be a swing. Chuma Edoga and Parker Ferguson are all in that swing tackle mix. But I'm leaning towards Mitchell. And, of course, Flacco apparently is looking good in camp. Zach Wilson maybe pulling it together. And then I mentioned Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman, another former 49er and former Falcon, is in that mix. Ty Johnson, who came over from Detroit's in that mix, and I call that the Michael Prime they drafted a couple years ago. At tight end, they have C.J. Uzomah, who comes once again via free agency. So a lot of cheaper free agent stuff. Tyler Conklin, another free agent, is in the mix, and then Ruckert is in the mix, but right now he's on non-football injury. Kenny Yeboah, who I like to come out of Ole Miss, is in that mix as well. If he doesn't land here, he'll land somewhere. And then former wide receiver, now turned tight end, Lawrence Cager from Miami, which in Miami is now, who was a former college free agent, is in that mix, but I don't think he ends up making the team. And then Devon Wesco from Cal is in that mix. Another guy who, not impossible to make the team, but unlikely in my opinion. And then on defense, this is where they're going to sort of hang their hat. Obviously, they have a defensive-minded coach, and he came over from 49ers, and he was planning to sort of try to build in that image. And if they get Lawson and Jermaine Johnson to play at a super high level, then that gives you that consistent, exterior pressure, and then you need somebody, whether it be Quentin Williams or John Franklin Myers, another one of those lower-priced free agents, to give you that push up front. Watch out for Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff is, once again, my biases, a guy I really, really like coming out of Memphis. I really think if he plays more, he's going to force people to play him more. Like, if he's playing more, he'll make you play him more. Vinny Curry, another lower-priced free agent, is also in that mix. Another guy, of course, San Francisco ties. A lot of San Francisco ties on the roster. Solomon Thomas, on that unbust sort of projectile is sort of trying to unbust, basically, is in that mix amongst interior guys. Sheldon Rankins, another lower-priced free agent, in that mix. And other guys who might end up filling one of those pass rush roles include Jacob Martin, another lower-priced free agent from Houston. Michael Clemens, Davis drafted. I mentioned Nathan Shepard. And Shepard is another guy I was higher on than maybe I should have been. He's a raw player, a powerful player, and a guy who struggled a little bit to figure out the finer points of playing D-tackle at this level. But if he gets in that mix with Rankins and Solomon Thomas, along with the starters, Franklin Myers and Williams, that's a powerful interior pass rush group. And that's what the 49ers had so much when they had, Buckner and they just had tremendous pass rush, period. But if they can get to that point, where they have that kind of interior pass rush, that's going to give them a dangerous defense. And then obviously C.J. Mosley, another free agent comes in there along with Quincy Williams, obviously, brother Quentin Williams. I like their secondary. Obviously, Jordan Whitehead, a bargain, a huge bargain to me, comes over from Tampa Bay. They have Marcus Joyner once again from Las Vegas, and Sauce Gardner, already penciled as a starter, as is DJ Reed, another like a bargain. Then the other Michael Carter, the second from Duke, right? One from Duke and one from Carolina. That's fascinating. But he's going to be right now penciled at nickelback with one of the fastest players in all of football. I mean, he and Tyreek Hill will be an interesting match race. But Javelin Guidry, college free agent who I really had high hopes for, and I think he's going to be in that mix for the nickel dime, along with all-name team, first teamer Rashad Wildgoose, who came over from Buffalo. So, real quick on safety, I mentioned Joyner. Watch out for Ashton Davis. I won't be shocked if at some point he maybe forces his way into the mix, and maybe Joyner sees more time at nickel, and Davis ends up seeing more time at safety, especially if they go three safety, big nickel. And then they got Panakua from BYU, and Elijah Riley are all in that mix as well. But I think it's going to be Ashton Davis, Marcus Joyner, taking most of those snaps, and then one of those guys may end up also seeing time at nickel. So I think this is a 6-win team with a shot at 7. I think anything below 5 or 5 even down would be sort of seen as a step backwards. But this is a good team. I mean, this is a team that has a chance to be good soon, is what I should have said. So if the Jets can stay healthy, particularly at key positions, if young players continue to develop, they could go from being a team that people frankly scoffed at. I could see them in 2 years, by 2024, being a team that could win the AFC East. So we're going to move on and do our next team now.